And Mr. Kirkland, the last conviction in the case for your son has just been made last week. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's finally get a little bit of closure, you know. Maybe we can start coming outside again, get some relief. Like, it's not a threat out there, prominent threat, like out in our neighborhood, you know. It's just a good feeling to close this chapter. So.
And like I said, it's been 4 years. I mean, what has this past 4 years been like during all of this, especially this legal battle as well?
I mean, it's kind of been torture on the family, you know, not knowing what's going on. Are we interacting with these people? Like, are we running into these people, bypassing these people? You know, how many other people are being hurt by these people? It was just a constant questioning of what's going on. You know, like the wonder of is justice ever going to be served? But we got it. So, you know, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
And, you know, when you go back to the beginning, you know, when you first got that call, you know, of that tragedy, I mean, what was running through your mind as a father?
I mean, at first you don't want to believe it. You know, I was in a state of disbelief until I actually got to the hospital. So that's when it really hit. You know, still to this day, it's still something that you just can't believe. You know, like, he was a good kid. He wasn't in no trouble. Him and his friends that played football, looking to graduate. You know, they weren't no bad kids. Played sports, football season. They on the field, off season. They playing basketball. You know, doing regular teenage boy stuff, but not getting in any trouble or anything. So it's hard. It's hard.
And speaking of graduation, the incident happened the night before graduation, is that correct?
Yes, the night before graduation. They were just going to hang out, you know, figure out life in front of them, you know, talk about the next steps. That's it.
I mean, what was that next day like at graduation? I mean,
I didn't make it. I was in the hospital, you know. They said they called his name and everything, so they gave a little tribute to him, but I was in the hospital with him, so it was kind of tough.
At that time, he was still in critical condition, I believe.
Yes. Still in the coma. And still fighting.
Well, you know, it seems like it takes a strong spirit, you know, to still put up a fight, even towards the end. Would you mind talking to me about the type of kid that Damion was? You know, we talked about it a little bit. He was a regular kid, you know, hanging out with his friends the night before graduation. Would you mind just telling me a little bit about who Damion was as a person?
Man, he was an outgoing kid. I feel like anybody who came across him, you know, liked him. I never knew him to have any enemies, you know. He's friendly, you know, you ask him, he'd try to help you if he could, you know, just regular teenage kid, man, with dreams of playing football, you know, liking to hang out with his buds, his football pals, work out when they can, just regular stuff, play video games, you know, hang out with his girlfriend, just looking forward to that next step. You know, it's kind of hard to talk about because, you know, he had a lot of life left. You know, it was taken so soon. Life of the party, Mr. Funny Man, DJ. Just shaking up thinking about it, you know, kind of. It's happiness, but at the same time, it's still a little, you know, he's supposed to be here. He's supposed to be here.
Well, how does, you know, getting this justice for what happened to Damion, how does that kind of help the family heal and move forward?
I feel like it's just a major chapter that's being closed that should have never been written. So, you know, it was mentally draining just going through 4 years of like, are they ever going to catch anybody for it? So now it's kind of like we're at peace with it, you know? It's not like, oh, we're still out there worried about if they're out there hurting anybody else. It's all done over with. They got them, you know, justice prevailed. I'm happy for it, you know? I don't wish no bad will against anybody. You everybody make mistakes. They got to learn from theirs. You know, it's just sad that it had to go down like this. 2 families, well, it's more than 2 families. My family destroyed, and their families destroyed also. They lost their kids in another way. You know, sad. Sad.
And when you think about, I mean, does this make you kind of think about the overall gun violence issue at all? You know, kind of seeing it up close and personal, does it kind of make you think about that huge umbrella problem that is gun violence in this area?
I mean, it's a problem everywhere. Just look at the news. It's everywhere. I mean, it's I don't know how they're gonna stop it. Like I say, it's more of a person thing. People is out here doing it, making bad decisions. You know, people got to start living right. You know, I don't know what the government is gonna do to try to figure it out, but something got to be done because the kids are getting younger and younger, and we shouldn't be burying these kids this young. You know, it's sad reality.
And it seems like that's especially true for kids who have nothing to do with any sort of gang activity like Damion. You know, because I guess at the beginning, I saw that he was confused as a rival gang member, he and his friends, and it was reported like that, I guess, in the media as well at the very beginning.
I believe it was, but they clarified that. Like, he didn't have any gang affiliation or participation. Like, they're football players. He's just wrong place, wrong time, mistaken identity. Like, I don't know what them kids were thinking, but at the end of the day, none of them knew each other. So it's like, wow, they got to come up with something better to do. They're taking all the programs away from the kids. They've been doing that for years. So it's more street stuff for the kids to get into, and it's been going on for years. You know, I came up through the 90s. They started dropping it then. Now it's just like the basketball courts are being taken away. To build apartments. You still got to have stuff for the kids to do. Without stuff for the kids to do, this is what we have. You know? Parents got to get involved also. We can't just put it off on the city and the state and they got to do this. Parents got to step up. Be more involved in your kid's life. Know what your kid is doing. You know? That's just the bottom line. It's not just you do this, you do this. It's a collective effort on it. It's going to have to be. Or we're just going to keep burying them younger and younger. And that's sad.
And speaking to that, I spoke with Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Megan Lang, and she told me that it's important she basically gave me advice, or gave the viewers advice, parents who may suspect that their children are participating or are contemplating participating in gang activity. How would you, as obviously an innocent parent of an innocent child who, you know, was kind of caught in the crosshairs of something that didn't need to happen, how would you advise parents of those kids, you know, moving forward?
I mean, you got to be in tune with what's going on in your community. Like, just pay attention to behaviors, patterns that your kid is doing. You got to know your kid. You got to know your kid. And get them in programs, football, sports, something. Get them to do something with dead time. Dead time is the devil's time, as they say, you know. So it's hard to say, man, because, like I say, I was part of mine, and I'm here still. So anything can happen. He was wrong place, wrong time. But as far as parents that trying to get their kids to avoid it, just pay attention. Get in their social media. Watch colors, certain colors they wear. A lot of gangs, there'll be signs for it. You know, like they change their friends up. I mean, you just got to pay attention to subtle changes, lead to big changes. So just be part of your kid's life. Know what they're doing. Know who they're hanging with.
And in closing here, Mr. Kirkland, how do you think this investigation and case was handled, you know, for getting justice for Damion?
In the beginning, I was a little shaky, but they got everything on the right path, and we got justice. So I'm happy for them. They did a good job, you know, in bringing justice to the forefront. So I'm happy for it. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. Got justice, chapter closed. Feel like me and my family can finally just, you know, move on and not really have it. We'll never forget it, but it won't be a plaguing thought in our head no more that we got this closure. So I'm proud, happy. So
Perfect. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
just be a part of your kid's life. Pay attention, you know. That's it. So you won't be here on my end or one of the other parents having to sing canteen or whatnot. You know, it's not a good look on either side. You know, families destroyed all over behind one simple incident that could have been avoided. So, like I say, I hope they little brothers and family members learn from their mistakes, and hopefully we get some more programs to get these kids out of the streets, man. That's pretty much it.
What can you tell me about this court update?
So the last of 5 co-defendants were just convicted last week after a 4-day-long jury trial. That was Mr. Hassan Johnson, and his sentencing hearing is currently set for December 15th. And
what message does him being charged send to the community about gang violence in this area?
I think the biggest thing is it won't be tolerated. This is a years-long process of our office working with the Virginia Beach Police Department, Fairfax Police Department, Norfolk Police Department, and our police department did a very good job at essentially putting all the pieces together to make this case a success. And essentially that's why it's so important for us to get the message out to young people. We go to schools to say, put the guns down, violence is not going to be tolerated.
And what tips do you all have? You talked about your tips for young people, for students. Do you have any tips for parents if they suspect that their children may be being recruited or currently participating in any gang activity?
Absolutely. Monitor social media. I think that's important. That's what these young kids do nowadays. They post pictures, flashing gang signs, posting with firearms, and it's amazing how many parents are not aware of what their children are posting on social media and to know who they're hanging out with.
Okay, and going back to authorities, you talked about, you praised their efforts in this entire investigation, in this case. From what you know, what made them suspect gang activity in the first place, from what you can tell me?
It was not until they were able to get some information from some witnesses in the case, and they were able to put that piece all together. There was also some gang detectives from Norfolk that were specialized in the Spazz gang in particular that were able to tell us about these individuals and their backgrounds.
Has gang violence been a reoccurring issue in Virginia Beach from what you know?
I don't think it's been a reoccurring issue. I know that it happens, but we're pretty good at stopping it and prosecuting it and justice for the families when it does happen.
And do you think everyone involved in this specific instance of gang activity, do you think everyone involved has been sort of taken care of or caught, per se?
Yes, the 5 individuals that we know are responsible for the death of Damion have been prosecuted to the fullest extent and have all been sentenced. So far, the sentences have totaled 137 years, and then Mr. Johnson will be sentenced accordingly on December 15th.
And what is the level of punishment that is being sought out in this case specifically against, if you're able to tell me that?
Can I pause?
Yes.
Can I tell them what I'm asking for?
I think so. And what are you asking for?
The max, 73 years.
Yeah. So the max is 73 years, and the Commonwealth fully intends to seek that from the court.
Okay, thank you. The maximum punishment that Mr. Johnson faces is 73 years in prison. We do fully anticipate asking the court to sentence Mr. Johnson to all 73 years active based on the facts and circumstances in this case and his past criminal history.
And the fact that this justice has been served, is currently being served to this last individual, how does that make you feel as an officer of the court?
Relief, I think, is the best way to describe it. As I said, this has been years and years of effort put into this case to make sure Damion gets justice. And I know I've spent a lot of time with his family, and I know that we can't bring him back, but the fact that all 5 of these individuals are now in prison and going to prison for a very long time, I think gives the family some sort of justice, and I hope they're happy with the outcomes.
How should the community be feeling right now with these guys officially off the street for good?
I think they should feel safe. These are individuals who came into this city. They weren't from here. They came in here and essentially ambushed a young man the night before he was supposed to graduate high school. And in fact, Bayside High School still read his name at graduation the next day, where his friends were there to support him. So this was a young man in the wrong place, wrong time, who was not doing anything illegal, not doing anything wrong. And these group of guys came into our city and decided that they were going to ambush.
And what is your message to, just parents whose children aren't into any sort of gang activity or any sort of illegal activity? What is your message to these parents in terms of just making sure they are doing everything they can to keep their child safe and doing as much as they can to prevent something like this from happening? Even though Damion wasn't doing anything wrong, what can parents do to, as much as they can, to prevent this?
I think just be aware of who they surround themselves with. Again, monitor social media, keep them proactive in sports and in camps, and just to be aware of your surroundings. I know that in this particular case, Damion was just in the wrong place in the wrong time, riding, and had no idea what was coming. I think that's probably the best message I can send.
Perfect. And just for my own knowledge, I read Damion was shot 18 times. Is that correct?
No. So Damion was shot 1 time in the head.
Okay.
The car that he was riding in was shot at 49 times. So not only was Damion shot, an older woman who was sitting in her living room watching TV had a bullet fly over her head. 11 other people's vehicles were struck by random gunfire. So even though Damion was taken from us, there was a lot of other victims in this community who were terrified.
And was this a drive-by shooting? Were the shooters, from what you know, still in their car? Was it a drive-by, or what was the manner of shooting?
It was a drive-by. There was 2 sets of vehicles, a gray Honda Civic and a blue Honda HR-V. The blue Honda HR-V turned into a court. Those 3 individuals jumped out and started opening fire. The other car did a U-turn and essentially blocked in the vehicle that Damion was in, and they both started firing at both directions at his vehicle as they drove away. And they continued to fire as 3 of the young men, jumped out and ran for their lives. But unfortunately, Damion had already been struck at that time.
So there were 4 people in the car or 4 total, including Damion in the car at the time.
There was,
The other
yes.
3 were able to get away.
Yes, and they were also all football players at Bayside High School with Damion. The other 2 of them were graduating the next day. 1 was a junior.
Okay. And do you know what type of weapons were used by any chance, or what maybe level or caliber of weapons were used?
They were all 9mm. We know that several were Glocks. That's all the information. We don't have 2 or 3 of the weapons. We don't have 3 of the weapons, but we do have 2 that linked these defendants to the shooting.